Welcome to another episode of the Alley Report. Today we're talking with Angel Krause, host of Voices from the Mausoleum and author of All the Little Voices and Dioram Abyssi. Thanks for being here.
Wow, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course. I've kind of started uh, the interviews lately asking like what are you reading right now that you really like, and what are you watching right now that you really like?
Oh, yeah. So watching, there have been, I think you probably know this about me. I'm like a big found footage junkie. So there's been like so much chatter on Twitter about these new indie found footage movies. Like there's a bunch of them. So I've been kind of trying to catch up on those. I watched Milk and Cereal recently, which is like all over Twitter. It's like an hour long. You can watch it on YouTube. And then we watched, what was the other one I just watched? Death of April was another one. I think that one's on Tubi. So just trying to like catch up on some of those so we can talk about them, on Found Footage Fridays. Um, Reading has been slow for me because I've been reading stuff for interviews, and then I've been reading, I just got a project from Kat Valor to
Oh,
blurb a book for her. That hasn't been announced yet or anything. So that's kind of been my focus, is like catching up. I did just read Dead Folk by Catherine Silva, which is out into the world as of by the time we're recording this, literally yesterday, but which was such a great, like, solid, super, super good sequel to Undead Folk, which I absolutely loved. So,
yeah, that was
um,
amazing. I love Undead Folk.
yeah, no, it really was. It's my favorite thing that she's written so far, and I've read almost all of her stuff. The only thing I haven't read is the Monstrum books, but I have them. I just haven't read them yet, but I read all of her Oblivion series. And yeah, no, it's so good. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've actually like been reading. I think that's been pretty much it, because I've just been trying to get caught up on stuff that's about to come out for conversations and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and your Found Footage Fridays has like I've seen a few found footage films, but I kind of just
Yeah.
had written off the genre until you'd have your ones you wrote in your list, and it's like, oh, these are amazing, like Savage Land,
Yeah.
things like that. I was like, oh, okay, I can see what these could do.
Good. Yes, we want that. We want to, we as in, I'm speaking like a cult leader, like that's like Steve and I's goal, is to like get people more interested in like found footage, because for a while, like nobody was talking about it at all. And then we kind of had like the VHS series came in, and then the other one that kind of blew it up again was the, Deadstream, which was a Shudder original. It's like a comedy one. So not like super my cup of tea, but it got a lot of people interested in found footage. And so now there's like all these found footage movies coming out, and it's been really cool to see, because I love that it's finally getting love. Because it used to be, when you talked about found footage, people are like, oh, I saw Cloverfield, I hate it, I can't watch those movies. That's like, oh, Cloverfield's not the standard for found footage.
Oh, and there's so much they can do. Especially I love the subgenre of it, the
Mhm.
documentary style, where
The
like
mockumentary ones, oh
yes, I loved the horror in the high desert. I haven't seen the third part
yes.
yet, but I loved one and two.
I actually have a VHS of Savage Land.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, somebody in the Ukraine made this, and it's like it's super hard to get out because these things fit like gloves, but and Elford, they work. I can go put this in my
Oh,
combo thing that I have, and it will play just fine.
oh, it's amazing.
So anyway, yeah, huge. Like my other one, the other movies up there is Apollo 18 and The Monster Project. Those are both found footage movies.
Yeah, I've kind of my oldest has started watching horror movies, and I showed her the one about I'm blanking on the name all of a sudden, but the haunted house series.
Hell House LLC.
Yes. And she like obsessively. She's watched the first one of those, I think, four times, and
Ooh, I
watched the
love it.
sequels. So now it's like, what else is there? And I just said, oh, just pay attention to the found footage Fridays. Like, there's always something new, and like,
Perfect. Yeah,
here's a
it's
channel for you to check out.
yeah, there's just so much of it. Like Steve and I just started kind of getting to like the bigger ones. Like we really, like before, when my co-host was Tom, who just unfortunately wasn't able to do the show anymore. It's a commitment to do it every week. And he's just very busy. So we kind of focused on lesser known stuff, or sometimes the brand new stuff. And
Yeah.
then Steve and I have kind of just been going back, like he did the Paranormal Activity franchise, like all of those. We just did Noroi the Curse, which is a big one. And just kind of going back to those and then doing the newer ones. But yeah, there's just so much of it to consume, like so much.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, it is one of those like if you're an indie filmmaker, and you have an idea, especially now that I think what revolutionized found footage was that we can have tiny cameras that can just
Oh,
be attached to
sure.
your body. So
Oh
then you
my
don't
God.
have the
Yeah.
logic thing of why are you still killing a camera? It's like, oh, it's attached. You can't help
There's it's just there, you forget about it, right? Yeah. No, it's so good. And then there's like somebody was posting about this yesterday that there's going to be a brand new streaming service called Found that only has found footage movies on it.
I mean, and there's enough that you wouldn't be repeating all the time either.
No, it's no, for sure. God, it's so there's so much of it. I love it. It's definitely my favorite subgenre of horror for sure.
I mean, it even works in because there was the found anthology that was just found footage stories, and
Yeah, I have that one.
it
Yeah, yeah.
it was great. I mean, those were
Yeah.
creepy. I don't know. There's something about it that adds that a veneer of reality to them in a way. I know it kind of gets under your skin.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have and then there's also some stuff that ends up coming out. Like I don't know if you've read Tom Reimer's oh my God, why am I drawing a name? Oh my God, the purple cover with the girl coming out of the TV or the thing. What is it called? I'm totally spacing on the name right
I don't
now.
know.
It's
I've seen it.
it's very like I read it like I got like I like blurbed it and I feel so dumb I can't think of the name. I'm so sorry, Tom, if you see this. But it's that is very like it's not necessarily told in the entire perspective of found footage, but it's very heavily influenced by found footage. And it's been cool to see that kind of coming up in different ways and other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, like your one of your charity anthologies was the zombie one, and
Mhm.
it was letters and things. So to me, that kind of fits in that
Yeah,
realm.
epistolary. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because there's so much you can do with that outside of like because there is a lot of the letter stuff for sure. Cause that's like more like what you think of a lot of times when you think of epistolary. But then there's like what I guess some people call like modern epistolary, which is like the tapes and recordings and you can kind of do like and now you've got like there's like a found footage movie called Unknown Visitor that is filmed and done entirely through a Ring doorbell. It's like you could do so much with it technology
Yeah.
wise. Yeah.
Um, well, and also, in addition, like you do found footage Fridays, but you also interview tons of like horror authors, and
Yeah.
also you're an author yourself. So have you ever found that like when you interview authors, you pick up tidbits and advice? You're like, oh, that could be helpful, or I could use that.
I think mostly I'm just generally impressed with how much more organized everyone is than me. Like I think the only thing, that I've noticed or that I picked up that I think can be valuable, but isn't always easy to do and isn't always for everybody is like, I talked to Kat Valor, who's also a friend and does other things with me besides the author interview stuff, but she talks about this idea of like writing every day, which I've heard you talk about too, on with I think somebody else about just that idea of like, oh, you've got to write every day, which is not always a super easy thing to do.
Yeah,
But I think when she said that and I started really thinking about it, it kind of put me in a space of like, well, at least like I've gotten to where like if I'm not writing something every day, I'm planning something, I'm outlining, I'm doing
yeah,
it does seem to help at least me in terms of like staying focused or excited about a project. Whereas if I don't get to write anything and then I feel really bad about it, well then I feel more pressure to go back to writing it. And it just kind of this like endless thing. Other than that, I'm so new to this. Like it feels even weird to call myself an author most of the time. Like I'm still getting used to that even being a thing. And so I don't even really like when people talk about their advice, I think the biggest things I take away from it is what they say regarding like just do things that make you happy. Like those kind of like cliche things
yeah,
that are really meaningful and very valuable. And other than that, people just do stuff I'm not able to do. Like Catherine Silva was telling us on her launch live that we did with her, she's like, oh, I wrote this in June. I'm like, it's August. What do you mean you wrote this in June? Like she just started writing it in June and then she was just done. And then Steve was like,
that's
oh, did
crazy.
you plan? It is, right? And he's like, oh, did you plan? And she's like, no. And I was like, what? You just sat down and wrote this insane story in less than 2 months. Are you crazy? Like I'm just usually I'm more mystified than anything because
Yeah.
I can't do that. I don't.
I have to outline. like crazy. And like you said, like, to me, writing every day, it could be I sit down and wrote like 100 words or just, hey,
Yeah.
remember to do this later or add this in, or
Yeah. Yeah.
people that can
I
do
think.
that quick turnaround just always like, I just can't find the time.
I don't know how they do it. It's super impressive because and it's not like you're, giving up quality. It's good stuff. It's just
Mhm.
that that's
Yeah.
their process, that's how they're able to do it. And it's just like
Yeah, like
it's
Brian G.
crazy.
Barry, like all his books are good. Like they're good. I
Yeah.
enjoy all of them. And it's like you probably wrote this in 16 hours and
I
like had it
know.
published an hour after that. And
Exactly.
I just don't know. Like I'll
Yeah,
spend months
no.
and months and months, and it's like I don't get anything that quality. I don't know how you're doing it.
It's crazy. I don't know how people do it. But yeah, I usually end up just thinking about like the more like emotional perspectives of like, doing things that you love or like making time for it or, just trying to keep those things in mind. Because it is hard. I mean, I have a family and I have a full-time job and I do content creating too. So writing is one of very many things that I want to spend time doing. And it does get hard to make time for it. So I try to think of those little things that I hear from time to time. I'm like, yeah, I got to make time for the things that are important. And maybe if I do write something every day, then at least I'll feel like I'll keep be, still in the same state of mind to work on it later or something like that.
Yeah. And like I mean, I'm impressed with your output because you're author, you run Voices Mausoleum, which has so many shows, but also you've edited anthologies and you've done book releases, you've done all these things.
Yeah, I really don't take a lot of the credit for the anthologies because it's mostly just my not that time is not valuable and time that people put into projects is not valuable, but I really make other people do all the hard stuff. Like so the werewolf anthology, the charity werewolf anthology that comes out in September is was edited by Nico Bell and then formatted by Kat Valor. And so it's like they were really the ones that were able to take this idea that I had in my head for this charity anthology and really make it what it ends up being them. And of course the authors that contributed stories. It's 20, not including myself, because I have a story in it because I love werewolves. Is it's 25 authors. So
Wow.
it's a lot. Yeah. But yeah, it's the charity. Well, first of all, the charity projects are super important to me. The werewolf one is the money goes to there is a wolf conservation in Salem, New York, that the proceeds are going to go to that. They have so many different species there, and they have babies there, and they have wolves to help take care of, and that they're trying to raise awareness about, and because a lot of them they're in really bad numbers, like as far as being possibly extinct in our lifetime, and so that's a really big one to me. I'm an animal lover. I love wolves, werewolves, obviously specifically, but so that one's a really good one. And then we have another one with that literally closes in like a couple of days. That's about haunted houses, but I'm totally spacing the name of the organization. It's a housing one though. So it has to do with a place that rehomes children and women and helps them kind of rebuild when they've come out of really rough situations. So the charity
Amazing.
ones are very near and dear and special.
I love it.
Yeah.
Um, and also, the one of the anthologies that I read that I enjoyed was This Old House, The Bathroom, because I didn't know what to expect. Like I was like, okay, it's all horror stories are all set in the bathroom, but nothing felt derivative, nothing felt repetitious. It was just like it's that the creativity of limitation. Like you're limited to this one room. What can you do? Like that
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah, I had that idea for an anthology in the back of my mind for years. Like because, like I'm a big gamer, like and if I don't play them, I'm watching other people play games and there's in horror games specifically, there's always bathroom stuff. Always. There's
Yeah.
always bathroom scenes. They're either cut scenes or scary scenes or hiding or you got to go find something in this dirty falling apart bathroom. And so I was like, it'd be really cool if that was the only perspective you got for a story. And so initially, like when I opened the anthology, I didn't know what to expect either. I was like, I wonder, because people were asking me, well, how much of the story has to be in the bathroom? I'm like, 90% of it has to be in the bathroom. You can start outside of it, you can end up outside of it, but a majority of it's got to be inside. And man, when I say the authors that contributed, because I ended up doing a part two because I couldn't get my list down. There were so many different ideas and creative ways to tell a story like that. I just was like, I'm gonna have to do two. I'm gonna do two. And it almost killed me. It almost killed me. But I made it, I made it through. It's a big project. I did it pretty much as far as the organization, admin stuff, all of that by myself. So it was a really big project,
Dang.
but it was the stories and the stuff people came up with. It was just so crazy exciting. And so in probably I'll probably announce it maybe in October. We'll see how these other things pan out. But there is going to be another room this year that will be out by the end of December, pending interest and things go well. Because I'm going to do other rooms of the house. And the
I was
next
hoping
one is
so.
going to be, I'll give you the scoop. The next one's going to be the kitchen.
Oh, there's so much potential for the kitchen. That's where the knives are.
Yeah, yeah. So it should be really excited. I'm really excited to see what people do with it. I'm gonna save the attic and the basement for last because I feel like those are the, you
They're the
know,
most
the,
expected, like,
yeah. So they'll be dead last. So we'll do all the other ones first.
yeah, 'cause I that was so good.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it was super fun project. I had a ton of fun doing the contributor boxes. That might have been one of my favorite parts because everybody got like so I did like rubber duckies and everybody got like obviously a copy of the book and a sticker and a bookmark and all the normal swag that you get. But then I also did these personalized little soaps that look like bags of blood. And then each soap had a picture on it that was relevant to that author's story. So it was personalized.
It's amazing.
Um, yeah, and so it was really fun to see people doing like unboxings and realizing that, oh my God, this is like related to my story. Like that was such a cool
Yeah,
experience
this
as
is personalized.
yeah, and it's going to be like that. Every room of the house, when you get a contributor package, will have a personalized item related to that room in it. I think I know what I'm going to do for the kitchen, but we'll have to see if I can make what I have in my head happen in real life. But yeah, it was a super fun project. I'm super excited to do more rooms, genuinely. Like it was great.
Yeah, 'cause then there's the laundry room. I feel like
Yeah, you could do something in the laundry room for sure.
I mean, it's a place of horrors to me, but that's mainly because it's never done.
It's
It
just
can't be
endless.
done. It can't be complete.
That's true. It's endless. Yeah, that's true.
Like, one time I was like, it was the laundry basket empty. It's like, I did it. I got it all done. And out of nowhere, one of my kids comes in with an armful. It's like, oh, I forgot to take these out of my closets. You waited until just now to do this to me.
Yeah, it's bad. I think it's bad when it's kids, but I think it's worse when we do it to ourselves because I've definitely done that to myself. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like I like because I'm not a I don't just put stuff in one place. My partner can attest to that. Stuff goes everywhere. And so like I'll have like laundry in the laundry basket where it belongs, but I'll also have like a pair of socks or a t-shirt or something next to the bed. And then sometimes I change in the closet and then like I leave stuff. And so like I didn't have any work shirts last week because I forgot that I had taken them off and changed the closet. And so it's like it's bad when it's kids, but it's so much worse when it's you, the grown up.
Yeah.
That's like yeah.
Um, well, we talked about your anthology stuff, but we haven't really talked about your own work. Like,
Yeah.
I think Dioram Abyssi is your latest, right?
Yes, that just came out a week ago, 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was super recent. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Dioram Abyssi is a sci-fi horror body modification shark cult book. Um in essence, you know, this was a couple years ago and I'm spacing on the name of the project, but there was set to be these three aquatic horror anthologies for charity and they were taking submissions and at that time I was submitting work to stuff. I don't do that anymore because I can't handle rejections. The people who do, you guys are the real heroes because I can't do it. Everything hurts my feelings. So I'd rather write something, publish it myself, and people hate it than to be rejected. Like, I can't do it. And so so I just do all my own stuff now. I don't even submit stuff anymore. But I was like, oh, I need to like, I want to get more into writing and stuff. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna like submit a story. And the one that I was intended to do a story for was specifically a charity for sharks. And so I kind of got this weird idea. I was like, oh, I could do a short about, you know, a person who wakes up and they don't have any memory and the people around them look super weird and they kind of worship sharks and they kind of want to make you a shark. And then like, what do you do with that, right? But then bad stuff happened with the
That's with
publisher on
publisher
that
on that.
side. and it just it ended up just being a mess, and so they shut down, and nothing ever happened. And then I am an avid fan of Grandpappy Design on Twitter, who is a cover artist,
Mhm.
and she posted an aquatic horror cover that I just fell in love with, and it reignited this like I should write my shark cult story, and so here we are.
I love that because like it's on my downloaded, but I haven't started it yet because I mean I just love like it's summer still, much we don't want it to be, but like
No
sharks
kidding.
all summer long sharks for me. Like I love the movies and then books, so yeah,
Yeah,
definitely that's on my list. And
yeah.
I love the idea like the cover inspired because I feel like sometimes you can have a like I've done it before. I've made a cover image is even working on it because almost like when people have mood boards and things.
Yeah, yeah. It was weird because like I think yeah. So this is the cover, right?
Mhm.
So there's no sharks. So like I don't even, but it doesn't matter because I tied in the florals. It'll make sense when you read it. But it was just one of those things where I was like, she does phenomenal floral work. And I was like, God, that octopus, that looks so good. And I was like, I don't have anything for it, but I have to own it. I have to have it, you know? And so I got it. And then I was like showing it to Kat Valor, who's also a cover junkie. And so like we just share that stuff all the time. And I was like, oh, you know what? And it was a weird thing to inspire because God knows, I never thought I'd revisit this story. And I definitely didn't think it ended up being a full, story like that, like a full book on its own. I just didn't, I never would have thought I would do that.
That's I mean you did that's fantastic and we need more shark horror. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to make it, the concept is very silly. But I did try very hard to make it not silly. I think it's very there's some obvious, commentary stuff on humanity and like all these things and um body autonomy and some of these things just happen subconsciously, but some of it was intended. And it's like, but there's a lot of sharks. And this isn't like a spoiler, I don't think. I every time we see anything with sharks, it's usually great whites. So the main shark, the only shark in the whole book is hammerheads.
oh, I love those. They're
They're
so weird
so
looking.
cool. Oh, I learned so many weird things about hammerheads researching for this book. Like their eating habits and I learned just a lot of stuff about them, but they're gorgeous. I think they're super cool.
Yeah.
And so that was like I was like, I'm gonna do hammerheads and just focus on that instead of great whites.
Yeah, hammerheads and then bull sharks because they're the ones that are actually eating people all the time. Like the great whites get
Yeah,
the
they are
credit because they're
the
scary looking, but like bull sharks.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And then like hammerheads, the great hammerheads, they can get as big as great whites. So even though you see some sometimes where they're kind of small, they do get really big sometimes.
Oh,
And
I
so I
didn't
was
realize
like,
that.
there's that, and that's kind of menacing. They're terrifying to me, but beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, like I love like I can think of I think it was the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and the cartoon Dino Riders had like,
Yeah.
hammerhead bad guy. And
Yes.
it's just such a great look, like eyes on
Oh,
the side of the head and weird little
yeah,
mouth.
it's so cool. And I think I think they're so neat. So I wanted to make sure they were like the shark for my story instead of a great white.
I love that, like the hammerhead shark representation.
That's
We've
right.
been needed it. It's overdue.
Yes, totally agree. Feeling the need for sure because it's yeah, it's and it's been cool too because like I knew a lot about sharks. I mean, I watched Shark Week like I think most people, but
Mhm.
I learned a lot about sharks in general, things I didn't know, things related to conservation and numbers, and it was really cool to have a random reason like that, to just kind of
Yeah.
jump into learning some more about stuff. But it was pretty cool.
I love the chance to do a deep dive and
Yeah.
although it's funny 'cause sometimes you find out you do all this research and, like, just a
Mhm.
fraction of it is what ends up on the page.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah. No, for sure. I think the only thing I used other than talking about the fact that they're not an aggressive type of shark is the way that they feed, which is so stingrays are dangerous, but it's like their favorite food. They love stingrays. And because they're shaped so funny and their mouths are like this big, when they want to eat a stingray, they take one of their sides of their head and they pin it down
Oh,
and eat it like that. And it's just this like visual of like a hammerhead coming up and being like, "Oh, stingray, my favorite," and being like, "Boop," and like pinning it down. And I don't know. It's just very funny and very interesting to think about. So I did use that as a way as a scene, or there's a scene like that
Right.
in the book where I use that information. But other than that, I really didn't use the much of the stuff that I
I
learned.
mean, that's a pretty horrifying way to die. Like it pins you down. It's just I'm just gonna take tiny bites out of you until you expire.
Yeah, and if they catch it just right, the stingray can't do anything to defend itself because it's just based on, but yeah, it was very bizarre. The visual alone was like, "Oh my God." It's crazy.
Well, and I love in horror novels and in movies too when like you talked about having something that seems on the surface or sound of it a silly concept, but it's like no, I'm
Yeah,
gonna make it creepy. I'm gonna make it scary. Like you're gonna come into
yeah.
this thinking it's one thing, and I've delivered you another.
Yeah, I hope that's what people feel when they read it. I also tried to make it emotional. I mean, our MC has no memory of anything prior to waking up and seeing this weird stuff, and her journey through the things that she's learning, not just about the cult and the people there, but about herself. I'm hoping we'll have some emotional reactions from people, especially towards the end of the book, because there was some things in this that got to me emotionally as I was writing it. So I hope that other people have that kind of reaction too at some point in the book.
Oh yeah, like I love horror that like breaks my heart, especially when I don't expect it. Like it's
Yeah.
like oh that got to me.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's going into a shark cult book assuming to have their feelings hurt, but I'm hopefully it will be a pleasant surprise and hopefully it works.
I love the idea of that. It's like oh I need a fun light read, Shark Cult. That'll be it, and it's like you've broken me emotionally.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's what I want.
That's honestly I've done that with more than one thing where it's like you won't expect this. You won't
Yeah.
expect I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun too because like some of the stuff that I feel like ends up being kind of emotional wasn't intentional, it was an accident. I started out with one very specific angle and then I was like it kind of started to come out naturally and so I kind of shifted gears and redid kind of some things and then I was like, well, that's really sad, but I think it works. Like it wasn't intentional. I did do an outline for this one, but I didn't do like what I would consider like a hard outline. It was more just like basic concepts I knew I needed to get through to make sure I was hitting all of the notes I wanted to hit. But a lot of the emotional stuff came later, total on complete accident. Like it wasn't even intentional. So it was a
I love,
surprise to me too.
I love when that happens though. It's like you said, like because I outline it, but the outline's gonna constantly shift because just as you write, it's like oh,
Yes.
it's like I can do this or I could do this or I go this direction. And
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, it was fun to write something so crazy and I've never written anything like it before. So it's also very nerve-wracking. Like I've said this a couple of times to other people, but like getting ready to kind of release this, I felt like was a bigger deal than anything else I've done. And I think it's strictly because I really want people to like it and it's just so different. And it's just been like Kat asked me, she was like, oh, how are you feeling on like release day? And I was like, I don't, good, bad, yes, I have no idea. Like I'm feeling all of the things because it's like I said, I really want it to do well. Like I want people to really like it and be interested in it. But it's just so out of my comfort zone that I'm like, oh, I hope I nailed, the things that I was trying to accomplish with it.
oh, I bet you did, but I understand that feeling. 'Cause I feel like leading up to a book release, I'm excited. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
People are gonna love it. And the day it comes out, it's like, well,
Ugh.
this is obviously terrible, and I'm a fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That
now
what
the
is it?
world will know.
Yeah, what is it like imposter syndrome starts to
Yeah.
kick in and you're like, I have no business thinking that I can publish a book, and yeah, it's people seemed interested when I was talking about it just based on the themes and the cover, but it's not those are not the things that they're going to take away from when they finish it. It's going to be the story and the writing and so hopefully all that lands too.
Oh, I have no doubt, and I'll be getting to it soon.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Curious what you think. Yeah.
oh yeah, I'll leave a review far and wide. I know what those mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Well,
actually got its first 5-star last week or beginning of this
hey,
week. Yeah,
fantastic.
and it was Sophie Ingley that posted it, but,
Mhm.
yeah, she really liked it, and there were parts of it that really resonated with her, and she was the first person to post about a 5-star, so that was super meaningful.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, Thank you again for coming on here. This has been
Thanks for
awesome.
having me. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of fun. Of
yeah,
course.
and I love being on your show. And if and
Yeah.
people who, if you haven't, you should check out the Voices from the Mausoleum channel. There's interviews, found footage Fridays, just all kinds of fun stuff, reviews, book release part, you name it. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also, Angel's an author, so check out All Little Voices, Dior Abyssi, and check out her charity anthologies. The werewolf one,
Yes.
just a week, 2 weeks away.
Yeah, it comes out on the 6th. So as of the
Okay,
time
so
we're
yeah,
recording this, that's like a week away, I think. So yeah, it's soon. And it so far has surpassed anything I've done pre-order wise. It's
oh,
had the
amazing.
most pre-orders. And I'm like, yes, that's what I want for the charity. I mean, I want it for everything. Obviously, you want your books and projects to sell, but like the charity ones, I'm like, yes, 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 so.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna write you a bigger check.
Yes, it's going to be exciting to be able to know that there's a payout coming when the book releases, or you know what I mean, like as far as when it
Yeah,
releases. So yeah, it's super exciting.
awesome. Well, thank you again, and everyone
Thank
check
you.
out all the things I said before.
Yeah.
Bye.